Kaitlin Free and Scott Shapiro back once again for another stakes preview. This time, the big one, the Jeff Ruby Stakes, $700,000 grade three, going to be race number 12 on that Turfway Park Saturday program. Plenty of big things going on this weekend. There's going to be three 100-point Kentucky Derby prep races. There's going to be a couple of Kentucky Oaks races, but 100 points to the winner of the Jeff Ruby Stakes on the way to the Kentucky Derby guaranteed start in the starting gate as long as all goes well. And there's two other 100-point Kentucky Derby prep races this week across the world. This one going to be coming here in Florence. And Scott, we got 100 points and on down through fifth place for the horses. And I believe there's another leaderboard we need to pay attention to as well.
There is, Kaitlin. Forte atop the leaderboard in terms of the Kentucky Derby equine animals, but the human side of it, the Twin Spires leaderboard competition continues on. The stakes get higher, as you mentioned, 100 points to the winner races, and it's Cody from Kentucky with a little bit of a significant lead heading into the final prep races, 380 points. Michael from California leading the rest of the pack, but it's a logjam for second. Still plenty of time to shoot up that leaderboard with these big races coming up over the next several weeks, including the big one in Florence. Really looking forward to this one, Kaitlin.
Yeah, it's honestly a pretty deep race and dare I say probably the most wide open prep we've seen so far. Definitely probably I think we would see on Saturday with there being two other preps. Going to be a full field of 12 here. Let's go ahead and start off with the morning line favorite drawn inside on the rail. That is Major Dude. And we actually ended up on the same horse and it wasn't Major Dude. So tell me what you think of him.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for Major Dude. I think this is a little more top heavy than maybe you do. We did land on the same horse who's kind of in that second tier for me, kind of that the last horse in the top tier is turned into the morning line. But Major Dude, there are some questions to answer for the son of Bolt Oro. Namely, will you like the all-weather surface at Turfway Park? Irad Ortiz Jr. will be aboard him. Very impressive win in the Kitten's Joy last out. Finished second prior to that in the Dania Beach. Both those races at Gulfstream. I thought that was an excusable second when Candidate got loose and lonely on the lead and ran away. He's going to get a good trip from the inside. Irad Ortiz Jr. as good as anyone in the world. In my opinion, you might like somebody overseas better than him at saving ground early and finishing full of run with horses. Just the price is a little bit too short, but he's not a horse I'm willing to take a stand against. But you seem to be a little bit more against him than I am.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit more bullish on him. I kind of had an opposite type of thinking. I don't think he's going to get as good of a trip inside. The inside hasn't been really good as of late. It's kind of not been the place to be. It's been a little bit slow. There's a lot of speed, definitely more to his outside. So he's definitely going to sit and drop back a little bit. But I'm thinking when they're turning for home and horses are kind of getting tired, that speed is kind of fading back and the other horses are going forward. I just think that there's a chance he's going to be stuck down on the inside and kind of really not have a lot of places to go. I've seen that happen in some recent races. And as you said, he's never tried the surface. Todd Pletcher doesn't ship a lot of horses here. And I don't know. I just kind of erred on the side of caution picking some of the local horses. I thought that the local contingent coming out of the Battaglia, there was a key allowance race as well. I just thought this contingent was overall a little bit stronger than some of the new shooters.
No, I mean, there has been some really, I think this Ruby came up really strong. Major Dude shipping in made it that much stronger, as well as two fills that we'll talk about in a moment. But let's talk about a couple of those local horses, Kaitlin, starting with Fantastic again, coming out of the Leonidas. Freshened up since then by trainer Wesley Ward, clearly pointing to this race. Couldn't have won any more easily in each of his first two starts of the winner in Florence. Now, will he be loose and lonely on the lead? Unlikely in this spot like he was in those, but it just seems like this horse has a ton of ceiling at this point over the all-weather surface. And if he doesn't get caught up in an early tussle, he's going to be tough to run down.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's kind of my thing is I agree that I don't think he's going to be loose and lonely on the lead. So for him to be able to beat me in this spot, he's going to have to show me another gear and come from off the pace. And Wesley Ward horses is a little tricky to see if some of them will come from off the pace because most of his horses are trained for speed, speed, speed. Occasionally you will see a few of them do that, but he hasn't really shown me that as of late. But if he does get loose and lonely on the lead, which I do think is unlikely because there's speed from other places, especially closer to him, he could be long gone in there. He's one that I definitely will want to use just in case that I don't necessarily dislike as much. I believe he's 6-1 on the morning line. Honestly, that's not that bad of a price on him. I personally don't think. Let's go ahead and talk about maybe one of the other local horses that's coming out of another very good race and has shown very good form. on the surface. That's Wadsworth. That's a horse that I like a lot here in this race because I think he's going to almost be one of the more forgotten ones. He's not ran in a stakes race yet. He has run in an allowance race, which on his maiden, he run completely loose on the lead. He was very impressive. And going into that last allowance race, he won over Scooby Quando and a couple of other horses that are pretty highly regarded here. He showed me something that some of the other horses in here haven't. He was able to come from off the pace and close, so he can be on the lead. He can close. He can be a mid-packet type of horse. He just kind of has the overall package that I'm looking for when I take a look at this race, and I think the price will be right.
Yeah, he's my top pick as well. A little more lukewarm for me. I think the 3 or 4 major contenders all make sense. He was the best price, so I picked him on top. He's been a new horse since arriving in the winter in Florence, not just because of the surface, but he was gelded before that maiden breaking performance on New Year's Eve when he popped the gate, went to the front, and never looked back. But like you said, Kaitlin, his versatility is a major weapon, especially with that outside draw. Hopefully he'll have the tactical speed under Chris Landeros to find a comfy spot, but not get caught up in an early battle with who we talked about. Fantastic again. We didn't mention the name Maker's Candy, who you mentioned draw right outside. Fantastic again. Bluebirds over. There should be an honest pace. I don't think it'll be overly chaotic, but I think Wadsworth either way will get a pretty good trip from the far outside.
That was definitely my thinking. One other horse that I think has a potential to maybe be part of that speed, but kind of like Wadsworth is able to have a little bit more tactability, is going to be Two Phils. He's one that's shipping in as well and going to be trying the surface for the first time. Larry Ravelli, a very good trainer for shipping his horses here and seemingly having them fit this type of surface. He's bred very nicely for it. I actually really wasn't surprised that he was going to come to this race because Larry does this so often with his horses. He will bring them here, and he's got his regular jockey back in Jareth Loveberry. Where did you kind of rate his chances when you thought about the local horses? Major Dude is the favorite, and Two Phils is just kind of that middle horse in there.
No, I'm a big fan of this horse. The fact that I didn't pick him has no bearing on my opinion of whether I think he's got a big chance. He's just a shorter price than than Wadsworth, and I'm using, like I said, for the 4 logicals that we've talked about, Two Phils being the 4th. I've seen him at fairgrounds in each of the last 2. I thought he ran really well in both of them. LeCompte, it was instant coffee coming over the top. He sat a good trip, but he didn't lose anything in defeat that day off the bench. And then I thought he ran even better in the Risen Star in a race that absolutely fell apart. He was the only one up close at all to the pace that was around late at the wire. Very promising effort. Wasn't surprised, and the pedigree suggests the move to the all-weather surface could benefit. It sounds like Larry, though, has always thought this horse was a Kentucky Derby type, so trying the all-weather. But I think he's just looking for the best chance to win, get his spot in the gate, and, of course, the lion's share of that $700,000 purse. Well, nothing to sneeze at, right, Kaitlin?
No, definitely doesn't hurt with the raise in purses here. And honestly, he's got enough points. I think he could probably finish second or third and maybe run a decent enough race if he does have some trouble and still comfortably be in the gate for the Kentucky Derby. So I definitely see kind of shipping him here, probably also wanting to get away from some of the horses at fairgrounds with that prep also coming up. Maybe this one could potentially be a little bit of the easier spot. So I definitely agreed with moving him here. And I do like that Jareth is back on board him. They seem to get along quite well. Is there anybody else you wanted to mention in this race? We do have, it's a field of 12 and there's quite a few others. Is there maybe a horse at a price that was intriguing to you, or?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that those were the 4. I think the horses that ran 1, 2 in the Battaglia ran well that day. They got a good setup, particularly congruent. Scooby Quando did have trouble, had the favorable race shape, but got shuffled back. I think he's probably my 5th horse in here, especially with the fact that he should get a pretty good trip, assuming the Axeman Luan Machado doesn't get shuffled back like he did in that Battaglia. But to me, it's these 4. I think all 4 of them are really, really legitimate horses, making this one of the best Jeffrey Ruby races in recent memory, in my opinion, and looking forward to it and excited that you get to be out there.
Yeah, I'm excited, hoping the weather cooperates, but it's going to be a really nice time. Jeff Ruby going to be bringing in plenty of food, and obviously going to be presenting the trophy and making an appearance. And I think there's going to be some live music and stuff after. So going to be a pretty fun day. Obviously, it's going to be a lot better if it's sunny and warm. I think it'll be warm. It just may not be sunny, but fingers crossed. We're going to enjoy it no matter what, but plenty of things, as I mentioned, coming up on the weekend. 3 Kentucky Derby prep races, 2 Kentucky Oaks races, and there's so much going on. You're going to want to check it out on twinspires.com. So get involved.